Alright, let's talk about theory going on here. So this is based in the key of G. Just realized that the tempo marker over here, I had that set for a dotted quarter note. It needs to just be a quarter notes. So I'll send the updated file, the Guitar Pro file, so you can play along with it. But basically, one thing I learned when I was being taught chord theory is diminished chords can be used for passing from, like, let's say, for example here, so we're in the key of G. So two chords that we have in the key of G are C major and D major. So there's just a C chord, C, where you got your A form bar chord there. So basically just taking that and moving that up here. I don't do it this way. That's a pain in the butt. I just do it this way. So anyway, so between here and here, you have those notes. So basically, as I was taught, when you have a chord that's a whole step apart from one another, you can use a diminished chord in between to basically bridge the gap. So, let me see. Just have it. Don't want too much distortion there right now. So, instead of just going C to D, you can go C, C sharp diminished, D. Something like that. Or it might sound nicer to go like from D major to E minor. You can go D, D sharp diminished, E minor. So what I found, it actually sounds kind of nice. Like, let's say if you're going to bridge or go from one chord to another that has a half step apart, like going from a B minor to a C, you could go up, but I liked the sound of going from B minor to B diminished to the C chord there. So that's kind of what's happening in these arpeggios here. So you're starting with the G. So I'm going to play it like this for right now, just to make it easier to see. So you got the G, and the next bar, so I'm skipping a little bit here. So bar 1 starts with the G, bar 2 starts with the A minor. So that's going up a whole step. And you go A minor up to B minor, that's a whole step apart. B minor up to C, that's a half step apart. C up to D, that's a whole step apart. And then D up to E minor, which is another whole step apart. So basically, here to here, you're going to move up a whole step. So you're going to go from the G up a half step to G sharp diminished up into A minor. A minor to B minor is a whole step apart, so you're going to go from A minor up to A sharp diminished to B minor. And then going from B minor to C, because that's your half step apart, I'm going B minor, B diminished, so staying the same root note, and then going up to C. And then we're going to go from C a whole step up to D. So we go C, half step up to C sharp diminished, land on our D, and D up a whole step to E minor. So we're going to go D, D sharp diminished, E minor. So if I play like some basic chord shapes here, we're going G, G sharp diminished, A minor, A sharp diminished, B minor, B diminished, C, C sharp diminished, D, D sharp diminished, and then E minor. Now without the talking so you can hear it better. So that's basically the progression right there. But you're going to do that with sweep shapes. So I've kind of just messed around with this or dabbled in it a little bit. I've never actually gotten any diminished passing thing really up to speed. So I will not be playing this crazy fast. I just think it's a cool idea. And basically that's like a jazz thing from my understanding of it. I say that not really knowing a hell of a lot about jazz. I know there's a lot of passing tone stuff in jazz music. So anyway, so you got your G, 3 note per string shape, you know. So the G major one, you know, the A minor one, B minor, C major, D major, E minor. So you know those, and you also know one of the diminished, well, I think I gave you like the B diminished. So basically that shape there, the B diminished that you've learned, you're just going to be playing that in different places. So, go from the G, G sharp diminished, A minor, A sharp diminished, B minor, B diminished, C, C sharp diminished, D, D sharp diminished, E minor. Whoopsie. I think if you get it up real fast, it'll sound kind of cool. I mean, you can just work on like short transition type things too. Like you go from like G to G sharp diminished to A minor, and then you can do an A diminished, and just kind of work between those. So G, G sharp diminished, A minor, A diminished. So a little bit more theory, a little more explanation here. So when you're going from this major shape to the minor, well, all you're doing is taking that middle note, the one on the B string, moving it up a half step. So that's the transition from the major to the diminished. And then the minor here, like the note on the B string and the first note on the E string, they don't move, but the note on the G and the higher note on the E string, they move down a half step. So we got and then well, going from the B diminished or B minor. Hang on. I just talked about something wrong. I described how the B minor. No. I think I just confused myself there. Going A minor to A sharp diminished. Okay, so I stand corrected. Heck, I can even just show it here. So you see, you got the 9th fret is the same when you go to A sharp diminished. 12th fret is the same. I mean, those are the same notes anywhere, an octave apart. So basically, you're just taking these two notes and moving them up a half step. So when you had the major chord, the only note that changed was the second one you play. So the B string note went up a half step. So you went from 8 to 9. Everything else is the same. 7 is still the same. That 7 is still the same. 10 is still the same. So going from the G to the G sharp diminished, only the 8th fret went up to the 9. Now when you go from the A minor to the A sharp diminished, this note and the octave of it, those are the only ones that stay the same. So the 10 goes up to 11. The 8 goes up to 9. So there's shared notes in there. and I think that's kind of why this works. So it's like your G and the G sharp diminished, they share almost everything except for one note. So it's like kind of stepping out of key for a little bit. You're in the key here, and you step out for just a second, and then you're right back in key. And again, you're going to step out of key just for a moment there, just a little bit, and then right back in key. Same thing here. So now the note on the B string, which is a B, that stays the same. But the 11th fret here on the G string goes down a half step, and the top note 14 goes down a half step there. And then so C, and we're going up to a C sharp diminished. The same thing happening here is what happened here. So the only thing that's changing fret wise is the 13 goes up to a 14. Everything else stays the same. Same thing will happen here with D major to D sharp diminished. The only note changing is the one on the B string. So the 15 goes up to the 16. And then, well, we're just finishing with the E minor. So sorry about the screwing up my explanation of this at first. I will give you fair warning in your email. So I hope this makes sense. If you have questions with it, let me know. And hey, we can discuss more of this stuff after when vacation starts. I don't know. After Christmas, I remember that. Got to talk, get something going after Christmas. So we will touch base again in like a couple weeks when it's closer to that time. But before then, if you have questions with this, let me know. And hopefully you like the sound of it. We can always do more stuff like this. Yeah, I think I've rambled on enough here. All right, I will see you next time.